a black habit and hooded scapula. He hadn't been to a fancy dress party or a T20 cricket match, though. He was, in fact, a Benedictine monk. They knew this because Dominic Augustus of St. Eustace's Monastery, 15 miles away, had been reported missing 2 days earlier by the father abbot. It almost certainly had to be him. So, in a sense, it wasn't exactly a surprise. Brutal, horrific, and unexpected, yes. Everyone was focused on wondering how anyone could do this to a monk. Cross's attention, however, had been drawn to the fact that the lifeless chair-bound corpse in the shallow ditch below him had been savagely beaten prior to his death. His bruised eyelids were swollen shut. His lips were bloody and cut. Cross couldn't imagine why such a fate would befall a man who had made the decision to withdraw himself from everyday life and devote himself to one of contemplation and prayer. What could possibly provoke someone to do this to a monk? Or what could the victim have done to drive someone to such an act? What had been the purpose of the beating? He looked carefully at the monk's body and saw tiny ripples of movement under his cassock. This meant thousands of maggots had already colonized the body. Hundreds more were congregating at various orifices, his ears and nostrils and around his eyes. It also meant he'd been dead for at least 24 hours, but Cross didn't know exactly how cold or warm it had been in the last few days. The body could have been in situ for 2 or 3 days, depending on the life cycle stage of the maggots, which he would leave swift to determine. "Stagnate gone wrong?" a nervous, uniformed police constable had joked when he arrived at the scene. "Are you aware that a monk local to this county has been reported missing?" Cross asked him. "Of course," he replied. "So presumably you thought your comment was amusing?" Cross went on. Otti was about to intervene, but it was first thing in the morning, and she decided she didn't have the energy for the inevitable lecture about appropriate behaviour at a crime scene. "Sorry," the constable replied. "You should leave," Cross instructed him. "What?" "Your presence is no longer required," Cross said. So the young constable left. He probably thought he'd done nothing wrong, and that Cross was just an uptight, humorless prick. Cross would have been unconcerned. He considered that kind of comment, coming from a policeman at a murder scene, unacceptable. To him, it showed not just a lack of respect for the victim, but a lack of professionalism too, which he couldn't tolerate. He also hoped the young man might learn something from his dismissal. "George, he was probably just trying to ease the tension," said Otti quietly. "Then he might have been better suited to a career as a masseur," Cross reflected. Otti laughed. Cross looked at her, surprised. "That was a joke, George," she said. But he still looked at her blankly. "Maybe not." Cross's attention was now drawn to the arrival of the forensic pathologist Claire Hawkins and forensic investigator Dr. Michael Swift, who, at 6'8", towered over her. Both were dressed in their white paper forensic overalls. They signed in with the policeman on the perimeter, then came over. Claire held out 2 paper suits for Cross and Otti. He took his and walked away to put it on. Otti declined hers. "I won't be needing one," she said. "Soon enough," said Claire. "Yep." "I've got some coffee in the car, freshly ground, piping hot. I can go and get it if you want," Swift said kindly, realising she might need a restorative pick-me-up. "Maybe after you've done your stuff." "Thanks," she said, and walked away towards a clearing in the trees. She walked through it to a view of the beautiful Somerset countryside, which couldn't have changed in hundreds of years.